Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Council and tried not to show her fear. The room was massive, built to hold beings from 12 different worlds. Some walked on legs, some floated in tanks, and some were so strange that Elena needed her translator chip just to understand how they communicated. She had been a diplomat for 20 years. She had negotiated peace between Mars and the Belt colonies. She had stopped 3 wars before they started. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. The council chamber was carved from a single piece of black crystal that seemed to drink in the light. High above, the 12 elder seats rose like thrones. Each elder represented one of the ancient races that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Humanity had only joined the council 47 years ago. They were still considered children, still on probation. Elena took a deep breath and activated her presentation. Holographic images filled the air above her head. "Honored elders," she began, "I bring evidence of illegal mining operations in human-protected space." The images showed Korthax Empire ships tearing apart asteroids in the Kepler belt. That belt was supposed to be off-limits by treaty. Those asteroids contained rare minerals that humanity needed for their growing colony worlds. "The Korthax Empire has violated," Elena started to say. "Silence." The voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. The Korthax delegate rose from its seat. It was a massive creature, 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin like rough stone. "The human lies," it said. "Those are our asteroids. We claimed them centuries before these primitives left their muddy planet." Elena felt her heart racing but kept her voice steady. "The treaty signed in 2231 clearly states, 'You dare question us.'" Another voice joined in. This one came from the throne elder Prime Jathan. He was humanoid but taller, thinner, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. His eyes were completely black. "You bring accusations against your betters? Against those who permitted your species to join this council?" "I bring facts," Elena said firmly. "I have sensor logs, communication intercepts, and—" "Enough!" Prime Jathan stood. The entire chamber fell silent. Even the other elders watched him carefully. He was the oldest, the most powerful. When he spoke, the galaxy listened. "This human has violated sacred law," he said slowly. "She has brought false witness before the council. She has insulted the honor of the Korthax Empire. This cannot stand." Elena felt ice in her stomach. "False witness? I have proof." "Silence, primitive!" Jathan's voice was cold. "I invoke the ancient law, trial by purification. Let the flames judge the truth of her words." "No." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. She had read about trial by purification in the old records. It was an ancient practice not used in over 500 years. It was supposed to be ceremonial, symbolic. But the guards were already moving toward her. They were not human. They were not gentle. Her communication device was ripped from her wrist before she could send a warning to Earth. Her hands were bound with energy shackles that burned her skin. "This is murder," she shouted. Earth will do nothing," Jathan said. "Young species always accept the Council's justice. They have no choice." Elena was dragged through corridors of black crystal. Other species watched from doorways and balconies. Some looked away. Some watched with curiosity. None tried to help. The chamber of judgment was smaller than the council room, but more terrible. In the center was a platform surrounded by plasma emitters, the kind used for industrial cutting, the kind that could melt steel in seconds. "You can confess your lies," Jathan said. "Beg forgiveness. Perhaps we will make it quick." Elena looked at him. At the creature who thought humanity would bow. Who thought they would accept this? She thought of her daughter back on Earth. She thought of the millions of humans working in the belt, in the colonies, in the deep space stations. She thought of all the times in history when someone had told humans to bow. "To accept, to surrender. You've made a terrible mistake," she said clearly. "Humanity remembers," Jathan smiled. It was not a kind expression. "Activate the purification." The plasma came to life. Blue-white fire surrounded the platform. Elena Vasquez, ambassador of Earth, died standing up. She did not scream. She did not beg. She stood until the fire took her. In the shadows of an observation gallery, a small creature watched. It was barely a meter tall, one of the minor species that served the council. It had hidden a recording device in its robes. Its species had also been purified once long ago. It remembered. The recording showed everything. Elena's evidence. The false charges, the execution, everything. The creature waited until night. Then it sent the recording into space, not to Earth directly. That would be traced. Instead, it sent it to a human merchant ship at the edge of the system. 20 hours later, the recording reached Earth. 16 hours after that, it was on every newsfeed across every human world. Mars, Europa, Titan, New Beijing Colony, Armstrong Station, everywhere. The Galactic Council sent an official statement. Diplomatic incident resolved. Ambassador Vasquez violated Sacred Council law. Matter closed. They expected humanity to accept it, to be angry but ultimately powerless, to realize their place in the galactic order. They expected humans to be like every other young species. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had seen species rise and fall. They had maintained peace through strength and hierarchy. They knew how the game was played, but they had never met humans before. Not really. They had met human diplomats and human traders. They had seen human scientists and human artists. They had never met humanity at war. In the United Nations Security Council chamber on Earth, Secretary General Kwame Okafor watched the recording for the 5th time. His hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. How long? He asked quietly. Admiral James Chen stood at attention. 48 hours to full mobilization. 72 hours to begin operations. Make it 40, Okafor said. Send the message. 30 minutes later, every council species received the same transmission. It was simple, direct. Return Ambassador Elena Vasquez's remains with full honors and formal apology within 30 standard days, or face consequences. On Throne Prime Jathan read the message and laughed. Consequences. From primitives. From children who had been in space for barely 300 years. Send a fleet to blockade their jump points, he ordered. 20 ships. That should be more than enough to make them bow. He turned back to his meditation chamber. The matter was settled. The young species would learn their place. They always did. He was wrong. The recording played on every screen across Earth. Billions of people watched Elena Vasquez die. They watched her stand straight. They watched her refuse to bow. They heard her final words. Humanity remembers. Secretary General Kwame Okafor stood before the cameras. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard as stone. Behind him, the flags of every nation on Earth hung in perfect rows. They burned our ambassador alive, he said quietly. They called it justice. They expect us to accept it, to bow our heads, to remember our place. He paused. They wanted us to behave like good children in their galactic order. His voice grew harder. But we are not children. We are humanity. We survived the ice ages. We survived world wars. We survived the colony famines and the Mars rebellion. We have 10,000 years of history written in blood and determination. And we remember every lesson. He looked directly into the camera. They wanted us to bow. They will learn we kneel for no one. I am invoking Article 7 of the Sol Accords. As of this moment, humanity is at war. Article 7. The words sent a chill through every human who heard them. It had only been used twice before. Once during the Martian Schism, when the colonies tried to break away. Once during the Robot Wars, when artificial intelligence turned against its creators. Total War Protocol. Every resource, every ship, every weapon. Everything humanity had built in 3 centuries of space exploration would be turned toward one purpose: victory. Admiral James Chen walked through the command center of Orbital Defense Station Yamato. Officers snapped to attention as he passed. He did not return their salutes. His mind was focused on the tactical displays floating in the air. 40 dreadnoughts, 300 destroyers, 1,200 frigates, 4,000 fighter craft. That was the official count, the numbers that humanity had reported to the Galactic Council. But those were not the real numbers. Show me the reserve fleet, Chen said. The displays changed, new icons appeared, ships that officially did not exist, vessels that had been built in secret over the past 20 years, hidden in asteroid fields and behind the moons of gas giants. Humanity had been preparing for this day. They knew it would come eventually. The Council spoke of peace, but their peace was built on dominance. on making sure the young species never grew strong enough to challenge them. But humans were very good at keeping secrets, very good at planning, very good at war. What about the weapons? Chen asked. A young officer pulled up another display. The Council banned kinetic weapons above Class 3. They banned plasma weapons above Class 4. They banned artificial intelligence in warfare. And we never signed those treaties, Chen said. We only signed the membership accords. Correct, sir. Technically, we are in full compliance with Council law. Chen almost smiled. Humans were also very good at finding loopholes. The Council species had not fought real wars in centuries, maybe millennia. They had small conflicts, border disputes, trade disagreements, but not war, not total, desperate survival warfare. Humanity had never stopped fighting. Earth had finally achieved peace only 80 years ago. Mars still had tensions with the Belt colonies. Every generation of humans grew up learning history filled with war. The strategies, the tactics, the brutal mathematics of combat. What do we have that they don't? Chen asked. The weapons officer stepped forward. She was young, brilliant, and absolutely ruthless. Railguns, sir. Magnetic acceleration weapons firing tungsten rods at 40% of light speed. Their shields are designed for energy weapons. Kinetic impacts at relativistic speeds will go through them like paper. What else? Mass drivers, nuclear-pumped lasers, antimatter warheads, and the Cassandra missiles. Chen nodded. The Cassandra Protocol, named after the prophet no one believed, the weapon humanity hoped never to use. Asteroids accelerated to 90% of light speed, relativistic kill vehicles. Each one carried more kinetic energy than every nuclear weapon Earth had ever built. There was no defense against something moving that fast. By the time sensors detected it, impact was seconds away. The Council thinks we are primitives, Chen said. They think our technology is crude. They might be right, sir, the weapons officer said. Our ships are slower. Our shields are weaker. Our energy weapons are less efficient. But we understand something they forgot, Chen said. War is not about having the best technology. It is about using what you have in ways your enemy does not expect. It is about being willing to do what must be done. Reports came in hour by hour. The Korthax blockade fleet had arrived at Jump Gate Epsilon, the main entry point to Earth's solar system. 20 massive bioships, each one 3 kilometers long, each one capable of destroying a city from orbit. The Council expected Earth to surrender immediately, to negotiate, to accept a humiliating peace. Instead, humanity sent a single ship. The TDFS Retribution was brand new, built in secret at the shipyards behind Jupiter. It did not look impressive, just 400 meters long, small compared to the Korthax giants, but size did not matter, not anymore. Captain Maria Santos sat in the command chair and watched the Korthax fleet on her screens. 20 alien vessels in perfect formation. Confident, arrogant. They are hailing us, her communications officer said. Put them through. The Korthax admiral appeared on screen. It was huge, covered in chitinous armor, with too many eyes. Human vessel, it said in translated speech. You will power down your weapons and surrender. This is your final chance for submission. Maria looked at the alien for a long moment. She thought of Elena Vasquez, standing in fire, refusing to bow. We are the consequence, Maria said quietly. This is your only warning. The Korthax admiral laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. 1 ship against 20? You are either brave or stupid. We are human, Maria said. Fire. The Retribution's railgun spoke. 6 tungsten rods, each weighing 10 tons, accelerated to 40% of light speed. The Korthax shields flared and died. The bioships were not designed for kinetic impacts. They were designed for the energy weapons the Council used. Elegant, efficient, civilized weapons. Humanity's weapons were none of those things. They were brutal, simple, effective. 17. Korthax ships died in the first 4 minutes, torn apart by impacts that carried more force than nuclear weapons. Their organic hulls could not handle the kinetic energy. They simply shattered. 3 ships tried to run. Only one made it to the jump gate. Only one escaped to tell the council what had happened. The Battle of Jump Gate Epsilon lasted 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Human casualties, 0. The Korthax Admiral's last transmission was a single word, translated by the ship's computer. Impossible. Captain Santos watched the debris field on her screens. 20 ships reduced to wreckage. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, only cold determination. "Send the sensor logs to Admiral Chen," she said, "and send a message to the council." "What should it say, Captain?" Santos thought for a moment. "Tell them we are just getting started." The Galactic Council Emergency Tribunal met in absolute chaos. Delegates shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others called for investigation. A few quietly wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Prime Jathan stood at his podium and waited for silence. When it finally came, his voice was ice cold. 20 Korthax warships destroyed, in 4 minutes. By a single human vessel. He let those words sink in. "This cannot stand. We declared them a young species, a primitive species, and they have made us look like fools." The Vex delegate, a floating creature in a tank of green liquid, spoke carefully. "Perhaps we should reconsider. Perhaps negotiation." Negotiation! The Korthax Prime Minister slammed all 4 fists on its console. "They murdered our fleet. They will pay in blood. They murdered our ambassador first," a quiet voice said. Everyone turned. It was Ambassador Tella from the Rinth Collective, one of the smallest council species. She rarely spoke. Now she looked frightened but determined. "We burned her alive," Tella continued. "We called it justice. But perhaps it was simply murder." "How dare you?" Jathan's voice boomed. She presented evidence," Tella interrupted. "Something no one had ever done to the Prime Elder. Evidence we refuse to examine. Because we are the Council. We do not explain ourselves to lesser species." Silence fell over the chamber. Several delegates looked uncomfortable. "This debate is over," Jathan declared. "I call for a vote. All species in favor of declaring humanity a rogue species and authorizing unlimited military response?" 8 species voted yes. The Korthax, naturally. The Throne Empire, and 6 others who had supported Elena's execution. "Then it is decided. We will assemble a fleet. 400 vessels. We will crush Earth and its colonies. We will show the galaxy what happens when primitives challenge the Council." The vote was done. The war was official. The Council expected victory within 60 days. They still did not understand what they were fighting. Admiral Chen stood before a holographic map of the galaxy. His senior officers surrounded him. They watched as red markers appeared on the map. Each one represented a council species that had voted for war. "They are sending 400 ships to Earth," Chen said. "They think they will arrive here, blockade our worlds, and force our surrender." "Will they?" asked Commander Park. "They will never reach Earth," Chen said flatly. "Show them the deployment." The map changed. Blue markers appeared. Human fleet groups. 12 of them, each one moving toward a different target. "We are not waiting for them to come to us," Chen explained. "We are going to them. Each task force has orders to strike infrastructure first, orbital stations. Communication relays, jump gates. We will cut them off from each other, isolate them, make it impossible for them to coordinate. And then," Park asked, "and then we give them a choice. Withdraw from the Council fleet heading to Earth, or we start targeting their homeworlds." One of the younger officers looked worried. "Sir, that could mean civilian casualties. Millions of them." Chen's face was stone. "They burned our ambassador alive and expected us to accept it. They sent a fleet to conquer Earth. They voted to wipe out our species." He paused. "I will give them every chance to surrender. But if they refuse, I will do what must be done. We did not start this war, but we will finish it." The first human task force jumped into the Vex system. The Vex were merchants, not warriors. They had the biggest trading empire in the galaxy. They thought their wealth would protect them. Commander Sarah Kim watched as her destroyers moved into position around the Vex orbital stations. Massive structures where ships from 100 worlds came to trade. "Hail them," she ordered. The Vex Trademaster appeared on screen. It looked like a jellyfish floating in liquid. Its translator voice was panicked. "Human ships. This is neutral space. You voted for war," Kim interrupted. You sent ships to the fleet heading to Earth. That makes you an enemy. But we only sent 3 ships. Barely armed. It was symbolic. Elena Vasquez was one person, Kim said. Barely armed. Her death was not symbolic to us. She leaned forward. You have 1 hour to contact your government. Tell them to withdraw from the Council fleet. Every ship. Or we start destroying your orbital stations. Well, you cannot. Those stations handle trade for 20 sectors. The economic damage. 59 minutes, Kim said, and cut the transmission. The Vex withdrew their ships within 40 minutes. The Korthax Empire was not so reasonable. When human ships appeared in their outer colonies, the local governor sent a simple message. Come and die, primitives. Commander Marcus Webb read the message and nodded. Target their communication satellites. All of them. The Korthax had 70 satellites linking their colony worlds. Advanced technology, supposedly unhackable. Human cyber warfare specialists cracked their security in 20 minutes and sent shutdown codes. Every satellite went dark simultaneously. The colony worlds could no longer talk to each other, could not coordinate defense, could not call for help. Now the jump gates, Webb ordered. 4 Korthax jump gates connected their territory to the rest of the galaxy. Human engineers had studied them for years, found their weaknesses. Each gate required a massive power core. Human ships fired precisely targeted missiles, not at the gates themselves, at the power cores. All 4 cores overloaded within seconds of each other. The gates shut down. The Korthax Empire was now cut off, isolated, alone. Send them a message, Webb said. Tell them they can have their communications and their gates back when they withdraw from the war. Until then, they sit in the dark. The pattern repeated across 8 council species. Some withdrew immediately. Some tried to negotiate. Some refused. The ones who refused learned why that was a mistake. The Throne Empire sent assassins to kill human fleet commanders. They were the best in the galaxy. Silent, deadly, unstoppable. Every assassination attempt failed. Humans had been dealing with assassins for thousands of years. They knew every trick, every tactic, every method. When the 3rd assassination team was captured, Admiral Chen sent them back to Throne Prime, along with a message. Next time, we will not return them alive. Next time, we will come for you. Prime Jathan read the message and felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. He pushed it away. Send more ships to the Earth fleet. We will crush them with numbers. But 3 more council species had withdrawn. The Grand Fleet was down to 250 ships. Still powerful, still dangerous. But not the overwhelming force they had planned. And then reports came in from Korthax Prime. The homeworld. The heart of the Korthax Empire. Human ships had appeared in orbit. 6 vessels, just 6. Against the most heavily defended world in the sector. 40 warships, hundreds of orbital defense platforms, planetary shields. The Korthax defense commander laughed when he saw them. 6 ships. This will be over in minutes. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of his flagship, 3 systems away. The sensor feeds showed everything. The Korthax defense is activating. The orbital platforms charging weapons. The planetary shields at full power. Execute Cassandra Protocol. He ordered quietly. The 6 human ships did not fire normal weapons. They fired asteroids, not normal asteroids. These had been accelerated to 90% of light speed. Relativistic kill vehicles. Each one carried more kinetic energy than every nuclear weapon ever built. The Korthax defenses never had a chance. The asteroids were moving too fast. By the time sensors detected them, they had already hit. Orbital platforms simply ceased to exist. Vaporized by impacts releasing more energy than stars. The planetary shields might as well have been paper. The asteroids did not hit Korthax Prime directly. They did not need to. They passed through the atmosphere at relativistic speeds. The shockwaves alone were devastating. 200 million Korthax died in the first hour. Not from impact, from atmospheric disruption, from shockwaves that leveled cities, from storms that tore across continents. Admiral Chen watched the damage assessments roll in. He felt sick. He wanted to vomit, but he kept his face calm. Broadcast this to every council world, he said. All of it. Every second. Let them see the price of this war. His communication officer looked pale. Sir, this is war, Chen said flatly. This is what they voted for when they burned Elena Vasquez alive. This is what they chose. He stood up. Now they will choose again, surrender, or watch their worlds burn. The broadcast from Korthax Prime played across every council world. Billions watched cities burn, watched the storms tear across continents, watched a civilization that had stood for 5,000 years brought to its knees in 1 hour. 4 more council species withdrew from the war immediately. Their leaders went on public channels and announced they had made a mistake, that they had been wrong, that they wanted peace. The Grand Fleet heading to Earth turned back, not in victory, in confusion and fear. Half their ships were gone. The remaining commanders could not agree on what to do. Some wanted to retreat. Some wanted to push forward. Some wanted to surrender. They did none of those things. They simply stopped, frozen by indecision, waiting for orders from the council. But the council was falling apart. Delegates screamed at each other. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others called for revenge. A few had already fled Throne Prime, running back to their homeworlds. Only Prime Jathan remained calm. He sat in his meditation chamber and stared at the holographic display showing Korthax Prime. The devastation. The death. He had ruled the council for 3 centuries. He had maintained peace through strength, through hierarchy, through making sure every species knew their place. And now primitives. Humans who had been in space for barely 300 years. Humans who should have bowed, who should have accepted their place. They had brought his galaxy to its knees. No, he whispered. No, this cannot be. His aide entered the chamber. Prime Elder, the human fleet, I know, Jathan said. How many ships? 15. Dreadnoughts. They have taken position in high orbit. They are not attacking. They are waiting. Waiting for what? The aide's voice trembled. They sent a message. For you. The hologram changed. Admiral Chen's face appeared. He looked tired, but his eyes were hard. Prime Elder Jathan, Chen said, you started this war. You burned Ambassador Vasquez alive. You called it justice. You expected us to bow. He paused. We did not bow. We brought war. We brought fire. We brought everything you feared from the young species you tried to keep beneath you. Jathan said nothing, just watched. Now I give you a choice, Chen continued. You have 24 hours. Surrender yourself for trial, face justice for your crimes, for murder, for war crimes, for genocide. His voice grew harder. Or we will show you why humanity survived 10,000 years of our own wars. We will show you what happens when you push us too far. The hologram ended. Jathan sat in silence 24 hours, a day to decide, surrender and face humiliation, or refuse and watch his world burn like Korthax Prime. He thought about his ancestors, about the empire they had built, about 3,000 years of council rule, about maintaining order in the galaxy through strength and hierarchy. He thought about one human woman standing in fire refusing to bow. Prepare my defense forces, he ordered, all of them. If the humans want war, we will give them war. The first 12 hours passed in tense silence. Civilian ships began leaving Throne Prime, thousands of them, carrying families from hundreds of species, evacuating while they still could. The human fleet did not interfere. They let every civilian ship pass. Only military vessels were turned back. Hour 13 arrived. Jathan broadcast across all channels. His face appeared on every screen on Throne Prime. I am Prime Elder Jathan, he said. I have ruled the council for 3 centuries. I have maintained peace. I have kept order. I have done what was necessary to protect our civilization. His black eyes stared at the camera. The humans demand I surrender. They demand I bow to their primitive justice. The council will never bow to lesser species. We will fight! We will show them. The broadcast ended, cut off by human jamming signals. Hour 24 arrived. The deadline passed. Jathan stood on the balcony of the council chambers and looked up at the sky. Waiting for fire, waiting for death. Instead, he saw pods, thousands of them, falling through the atmosphere like metal rain. What? He started to say. The defense commander ran onto the balcony. They are landing troops. 50,000 soldiers, in powered armor, heading for the capital. Jathan felt his blood run cold. No, they would not dare. Ground assault? That is barbaric, primitive. Tell them that, the commander said grimly. The Battle of the Council Chambers began at dawn. Throne warriors, the most elite soldiers in the galaxy, stood ready. They had energy weapons that could punch through steel. Personal shields that could stop missiles. 3,000 years of advanced technology. But they had not fought a real ground war in 2,000 years. Their tactics came from simulations, from training exercises, from theory. The humans had never stopped fighting on the ground. Every generation, every war, they had perfected the art of killing up close. The first wave hit the outer defenses. Throne warriors fired their energy weapons, beautiful arcs of plasma that could melt battle armor. The human shields absorbed most of it. The armor took the rest and the humans fired back. Not with energy weapons, with bullets, with explosives, with weapons that the Council had banned as too crude, too primitive, too brutal. But crude weapons still killed, and humans knew exactly how to use them. Sergeant Mike Torres led his squad through the palace corridors. They moved fast, precise, every movement practiced 10,000 times. His men were the best. Veterans of the Mars pacification, veterans of the Belt Wars. They had trained for this their entire lives. The throne warriors had not. Energy bolts flashed past his head. Torres ducked behind cover and signaled his team. 2 grenades arced through the air. Old technology, simple explosives, but effective. The throne warriors were not ready. Their shields blocked energy, not concussion waves, not shrapnel. Move, Torres shouted. His squad advanced. Room by room, corridor by corridor. The throne warriors fought bravely. But bravery was not enough. They did not know how to fight without shields, without superior technology, without the advantages they had relied on for millennia. The humans knew exactly how to fight that way. They had been doing it since they lived in caves and threw rocks at their enemies. 6 hours into the battle, human forces reached the council chambers. The inner sanctum, the heart of galactic power for 3,000 years. Jathan stood in the center with his personal guard. 50 of the best warriors in the galaxy, their shields at maximum, their weapons ready. You will not take me, he said. Captain Sarah Lynn walked through the shattered doors. Her armor was scarred, scorched, but she was alive. Her squad behind her. Prime Elder Jathan, she said formally. By the authority of the Terran Defense Force and the United Nations, I place you under arrest for war crimes. I do not recognize your authority. Primitive. Then you will die here, Lynn said flatly. Your choice. Jathan looked at his guards, at the 50 warriors who had sworn to die for him. He thought about 3,000 years of history, about the Council, about everything he had built. He thought about Elena Vasquez standing in fire. He lowered his weapon. I surrender. His guards looked shocked, betrayed, but they followed his lead. One by one, they powered down their weapons. Lynn stepped forward and placed restraints on Jathan's wrists. Not energy shackles. Simple metal cuffs, primitive but effective. You are going to stand trial, she said. You are going to answer for what you did. Jathan said nothing. He just stared at the human woman, at the primitive who had brought him down. Who had brought the council down? How? He whispered. How did you beat us? Lynn looked at him. You spent 3,000 years forgetting how to fight. We never stopped learning. You thought your technology made you superior. We knew that will and determination matter more than technology. She pulled him toward the door. And you made one fatal mistake. What mistake? You burned our ambassador alive and expected us to forget. We told you we remember. You should have listened. The broadcast went out across the galaxy. Human soldiers walking Prime Elder Jathan through the ruins of the council chambers. His hands bound, his head lowered. The council had fallen. The Prime Elder was captured. The war was over, but justice was just beginning. The trial was held on Throne Prime, in the ruins of the council chambers, where the old power had stood for 3,000 years. Cameras from every world in the galaxy watched. Billions of beings, hundreds of species, all watching as Prime Elder Jathan stood before a courtroom. Not a council tribunal, not his peers. A human court. The judge was a human woman named Patricia Chen. She was old. 70 years of service in the Terran legal system. She sat behind a simple desk. No throne, no elevated position, just a desk and a chair. Jathan stood in restraints. Simple metal, primitive, but he could not break them. Would not try. He had already lost. He knew it. You are charged with the following crimes, Judge Chen said. Her voice was calm, professional. Murder of Ambassador Elena Vasquez. Conspiracy to commit genocide against the human species. War crimes resulting in the deaths of over 200 million beings. She paused. How do you plead? Jathan said nothing at first. Then quietly, I did what was necessary. I maintained order. I kept peace by burning people alive. She violated sacred law. She brought false witness. Show the evidence, Judge Chen ordered. The holographic displays came to life. Elena's original presentation. The sensor logs. The communication intercepts. The mining operations. Everything she had tried to show the council. It was all real. All accurate. All true. The Korthax had been mining in human-protected space illegally. Elena had been right. Her evidence was solid. Her case was legitimate. She had been murdered for telling the truth. Jathan watched the displays. His face showed nothing, but his hands trembled slightly. You burned her alive for presenting facts, Judge Chen said. You called it justice. You expected humanity to accept it. She leaned forward. Did you really believe we would? You were a young species, Jathan said quietly. Young species always accept the council's judgment. They have no choice. That is how the galaxy works. Worked, Judge Chen corrected. That is how it worked. Past tense. She gestured to the ruins around them. You built your peace on fear, on dominance, on making sure no one could challenge you, but you forgot something important. What? Fear only works until someone decides they are not afraid anymore. The trial lasted 3 days. Witnesses testified. Experts explained. Evidence was presented. Everything was recorded. Everything was broadcast across the galaxy. Some council species tried to defend Jathan, said he was following ancient law, that he was doing his duty, that the humans were the real criminals, but most watched in silence, watching their old order crumble, watching the Prime Elder reduced to a war criminal, watching everything they had believed proven wrong. On the 3rd day, the jury delivered their verdict. The jury was not all human. Half were humans, half were aliens from species that had suffered under council rule, the minor species, the ones who had been kept down, kept silent, kept in their place. We find the defendant guilty, the jury foreman said. On all charges, Jathan closed his eyes. He had known it would come, but hearing it still felt like a physical blow. Judge Chen stood. Prime Elder Jathan, you have been found guilty of murder, war crimes, and conspiracy to commit genocide. The penalty for these crimes is death. She paused. You burned Ambassador Vasquez alive in plasma fire. You will die the same way. Justice demands equality. Jathan looked up. For the first time, he showed fear. Real fear. Please. Not that, I beg you. Make it quick. Make it painless. Admiral Chen stepped forward. He had been sitting in the courtroom every day, watching, remembering Elena. Did you make it quick for her? He asked quietly. Did you make it painless? Jathan said nothing. We are not cruel, Chen continued, but we are just. And we have very long memories. The execution took place the next day, in the same chamber of judgment where Elena had died. The same plasma emitters, the same platform. Jathan was brought in without restraints. He could have run. Could have fought. He did neither. He walked to the platform on his own, stood in the center, looked up at the cameras broadcasting to the galaxy. I did what I believed was right, he said. His voice shook. I tried to maintain order, to keep peace, to preserve our civilization. He paused. I was wrong. The humans. You were right. Justice should be equal. No species should be above the law. He looked directly at the camera. I'm sorry. Whether he meant it, no one could say. But those were his final words. The plasma activated. Jathan burned, just like Elena had burned. He did not scream. To his credit, he stood until the fire took him. Admiral Chen watched from the observation gallery. He felt no joy, no satisfaction. Only cold emptiness. Is it done? Judge Patricia Chen asked. She stood beside him. It is done, Chen said. But it does not bring her back. No, it does not. But it sends a message. What message? That humanity keeps its promises. That we remember. That justice applies to everyone. Even prime elders. Even the powerful. The galaxy watched the execution in silence. Some felt it was just. Some felt it was too harsh. Some felt it changed nothing. But everyone understood the message. The old order was gone. Something new was being born. 3 months later, representatives from 70 species met on neutral ground. Not on Throne Prime. Not in the old council chambers. On a new station built by humans and their allies. Station Unity, the Galactic Assembly was formed. Not a council. Not a hierarchy. An assembly where every species had an equal vote. Where no one species could dominate. Where the young and the old had the same voice. The founding charter was written in 1,000 languages. At the top in every language was a dedication, in memory of Ambassador Elena Vasquez, who came in peace, who spoke truth, who stood for justice even unto death. May we honor her memory by building a galaxy where such sacrifice is never needed again. The Vasquez Accord became galactic law. Any attack on diplomats was automatically an act of war. Any species, any reason. No exceptions. 7 council species faced war crimes trials. 4 species sought formal alliances with humanity. The rest tried to rebuild their reputations. Admiral Chen retired 1 year after the war ended. He was 53 years old. He looked 70. War had aged him, but he made one journey before he retired. To Throne Prime. To the memorial that now stood where the council chambers once stood. A statue of Elena Vasquez, standing tall, hands at her sides, face calm, unafraid. The inscription read, "She came in peace." They answered with fire. Humanity answered with justice. Chen stood before the statue for a long time, remembering. Elena had been his friend. They had gone through diplomatic training together. Had served together for 15 years. "We did it," he said quietly. "We made them remember. We built something better. I hope it was worth the price." The statue said nothing, but the sunlight caught the metal, making it shine like it was on fire. But this fire was different. Not destructive. Not cruel. It was the fire of memory, of justice, of humanity refusing to forget. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed. Species that had once been enemies now worked together. Trade flourished. Peace held. The Galactic Assembly grew to include over 200 species. The old council species learned to adapt. Some thrived in the new order. Some struggled. But all accepted it. They had no choice. Young species joined the assembly as equals. Not probationary. Not lesser. Equal from day one. And in every assembly hall, in every diplomatic ship, in every peace negotiation, there was a reminder. A small plaque, a statue, a memorial, Elena Vasquez. The woman who died standing up. The woman who changed the galaxy. Humanity did not call it the human era. Humans rarely named things after themselves. They preferred to let others do that. But across the galaxy, beings from 1,000 worlds told their children the story. The story of the council that tried to burn humanity. The story of the ambassador who refused to bow. The story of the species that brought justice to the stars. They called it the Vasquez era. The age when the galaxy learned that peace built on fear was no peace at all. That justice applied to everyone. That even the smallest species could change everything. And humanity? Humanity remembered. They always would. It was what they did best. The Galactic Council had wanted war. Humanity delivered, and then humanity taught the galaxy what true peace could look like. Not peace through fear, not peace through dominance, peace through justice, peace through equality, peace through remembering that every life mattered, from the most powerful elder to the youngest species taking their first steps into space. That was Elena's legacy. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. And the galaxy would never forget.